Hello everybody, I'm Rusty. I want to welcome you to Island Breeze Tropicals. Today we're going to be talking about wind damage on our bromeliads. So you know what? The sun is shining, the island breeze is blowing. It's time that you and I got growing. Come on, let's have some fun and let's talk about wind damage on our bromeliads. So okay guys, we're up here on the plant deck, pretty much put back together. It wasn't too bad. I fared really well through the storm. And today we're going to be talking about things that happened because of the hurricane, but you don't have to have a hurricane to have this happen to your bromeliad. And what we're going to be talking about today is wind damage. Now that could happen because of any wind. You know, bromeliads have very long leaves and they will turn and twist in the wind. What do we do about it? But that's what we're going to look at today. So I'm going to take you out in the tangle. I'm going to show you a couple of examples. We're also going to be going to Sundance orchids and bromeliads. One of the reasons is that I can't take things out of the shade house, and I'm going to show you what that is like right now. Well, okay guys, this is why it's going to be difficult for the time being to pull things out of the shade house. As you can see, the shade house took quite a hit. And as you all may know, if you are a fan of the channel, that this is where I have my bromeliads. So it is quite a mess. It is rebuildable. I'm gonna have to put some new poles in, and looks like to me lots and lots of new cable and new shade cloth. Not gonna be all that hard, but it's going to take a long time. Okay, so this is why we're going to go to Sundance Orchids and Bromeliads to show you what bromeliads that have been hit with a lot of wind look like. But before we go to Sundance, I'm going to show you exactly what a hurricane will do to bromeliads that are growing on the trees. So this is what it looks like when a bromeliad does not fly out of the tree when there's a lot of wind. Now, you may not have bromeliads growing in your trees up north, but down here we can. And this is what it looks like. I'm going to zoom in there. And as you can see, it's pretty hammered. And of course, I'm not going to be trimming this. This is up there, oh gee whiz, I don't know, 15, 20 feet. Let's see if we can get a, sorry for the jerky stuff here this morning. And as you can see, it's up there in the tree. And actually why it didn't fly out, I have no idea. So as you can see, it can get to be quite a mess. And I think I'm just going to take this out of the tree. So if you get a thunderstorm and or a lot of wind and it starts to blow your plants around, they are really, really resilient, and you will be able to right them and get some water into the cups, and I think they'll be just fine. So okay, why don't we go to Sundance Orchids and Bromeliads, and I'm going to show you some close-ups of wind damage, and we're going to talk about what to do. So what I'm going to show you in this episode is wind damage. Now look, the wind damage that you see here is caused by a hurricane, but you know it really doesn't take a hurricane to cause wind damage on bromeliads. The reason is their leaves are very strap-like and they catch the wind, and what they will do if they don't tear off, they will twist. They will go back and forth with the speed of the wind, and I'm going to show you what that does right now. Now this is a Neoregelia purple waves, and if you take a look down here, and I'm going to put my finger right down in here, you see these necrotic lesions, and I'm going to go down there and see if I can get a close-up. Okay, so if you look right there, do you see how they are lengthwise on the leaf? And those are areas that twisted. Now they didn't break. And our first inclination is to want to trim this and make it look all nice and pretty. But I recommend against doing that. No, this is not a pretty bromeliad, but it will get to be that again, hopefully. But it needs this leaf in order to make carbohydrate so it can make new leaves. And if you look down here, you can see there are leaves that are undamaged, and they will eventually, if the plant's young enough, replace the whole crown of this plant. So don't trim them if you have had wind damage. Now the same thing can happen if you have a thunderstorm. So you don't have to live in Southwest Florida like I do and have a Cat 4 hurricane with 150-mile-an-hour winds. So you can get wind damage in places other than the hurricane zone, and you may see this in your plants if that happens. Now you can see this is an Alcantara. It is an Imperialis hybrid, and take a look, you can see the same necrotic lesions. Now, so as you can see, these leaves are still attached, and they are not bent, and they will still make carbohydrate for the plant and give you brand new leaves. So reduce the urge sometimes. I know it's hard, but reduce the urge to trim these leaves off. Even though it'll make it look pretty, it will be prettier with brand new leaves, and you need that leaf on the plant to make food for itself so it can do that. Okay, so this is an extreme example, and this is an Echmea blanchettiana, and you can see it's not a happy camper. So what will we do with this plant? Let me see if I can show you some of the ends of the leaves, and if you take a look, that end of the leaf can actually be trimmed. Now, don't trim it all the way back, don't take the leaf off, but that can be trimmed to look a little bit better, because that end where the dead tissue, where that necrotic tissue is not going to function, and it's not going to do anything for the plant. So it can be taken off. Okay, so we have a leaf here that was bent by the wind, and we haven't bent it back, so let's take a look. And no, it's not pretty, but again, don't trim this leaf off. If it can capture sunlight, it can make carbohydrate, and the plant is going to need that. And I guarantee you, within 6 to 8 months, then you can trim the necrotic tissue off, and the plant's going to look just fine. Here's another example. Now this can be trimmed off. And by the way, we have a video on how to trim bromeliads. I hope you'll go back through the archives and take a look at that. So we're not going to do that here, but that can be trimmed off, and it can be trimmed in the shape of a leaf. Again, try not to trim any more live leaf than you have to, but that can be prettied up a little bit. So okay guys, that's it. I hope you enjoyed learning about wind damage on our bromeliads. It can happen to everybody. I hope you don't have a hurricane hit you like we did here, but if you do get wind, now you'll know what to do about that kind of damage in your plant. So no matter where you are, I hope your sun is shining. I hope you have an island breeze blowing. Same thing as making the wind chimes really loud. And I know that you need to keep growing. Have lots of fun. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time.